All right, welcome to our podcast here with Investing in Truth. If you're familiar with us, investingintruth.com is where you can go and find all your educational materials. What we're trying to do today is talk with a subject matter expert on something where we all need some education. And the common question I keep running into is, what do I do about Medicare? How do I decide, number one, what is Medicare? But number two, how do I decide what to choose? And I've got Linda Yeager, who's going to be our moderator today, and she will run the show here. And then Marilyn McCullough, who is our expert on Medicare. So we'll at least call you an expert for today. Even if you don't consider yourself as such, we will hold you up to that standard. And the reason I wanted to have this discussion today is because I'm constantly being asked by people that are nearing that range of considering Medicare or needing to make that option and selection of Medicare. They realize that they know nothing about it, and then all of a sudden they get close to that age 65, and suddenly the mail starts pouring in, the phone calls start coming, and they have absolutely no idea what they're trying to decide here. It's just an aspect of life that we don't think about, we don't consider, and then suddenly we have to make a decision. So how do we make that decision? And that's what we want to talk about today. So we just want to have a casual conversation, talk through what is it, how do I think about it, when do I even need to start thinking about it, and just provide you guys with education from somebody that's not trying to sell you something, but somebody that deals in this field. So that's where we're going to go today. So Marilyn, what can you tell us about yourself? Give us a little background. Okay. How much time do you spend in this area of thinking about Medicare?
I actually I've had the pleasure of meeting with people over the last 12 years in talking to them about Medicare and educating them, really. I try to do a couple of educational seminars every year just because people are so confused about the subject matter. I have a background I started in the accounting field, and then I went to the insurance field about 12 years ago and have been dealing with it ever since.
Well, you get a lot of questions, I'm sure, from a lot of people that you deal with. Can we dive into, as we wade through these difficult waters of Medicare, let's define it. What is Medicare?
Actually, Medicare is health insurance for people over the age of 65. And then if you have disabilities under the age of 65 and people with end-stage renal disease. So that's what it does for those people.
So typically it's going to be an age that qualifies us.
Typically it's an age or a disability, yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about people that are age 65. So what is it that qualifies you, or what makes you eligible? So one of the things I hear about, I'm talking to pastors all the time, and some of these pastors have elected out of Social Security. Yeah. So if you've elected out of Social Security, are you still eligible for Medicare, or are you giving up Social Security benefits and Medicare?
You can actually buy into Medicare.
Okay.
So if you have not worked the required quarters, they actually have you work 40 quarters, which is 10 years over your lifespan. That automatically qualifies you. But if you haven't worked that many quarters, you can actually buy into Medicare. So you pay a premium for that.
So essentially we're talking about health insurance as you described it at a specific age. You can either qualify for it and get it for free,
right,
or you can buy into it.
Yes.
And that's
correct.
Yeah, that's your marketplace.
And when you say for free, not really for free.
Okay. We'll get to that detail.
The little loophole there.
In a
what
better
is free,
way.
right.
Maybe we'll say it that way. All right. So once you reach age 65, is there a timing aspect here? Do I have to sign up for it when I'm 65? What if I don't sign up for it when I'm 65? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So if you are 65 and you're working and you have a group health plan, you're not required to sign up for Medicare. Medicare Part A is something that you will get automatically free of charge when you turn 65. But Part B is something that you're going to elect. So if I'm working and I have group insurance, that's something I don't want to do or possibly not want to do at that point. I'd want to explore my options. But if I'm not working and I'm turning 65, I can start talking about signing up and actually complete the paperwork 3 months prior to my 65th birthday. And you will contact Social Security Medicare in order to get that done.
Now, you talked about if you have group insurance.
Yes.
What if I'm 65 and I have some other form of insurance or some other form of a share plan or something like that? Am I still able to not sign up? Or
well, if you have a share plan or an individual health plans now will not allow you to stay on them once you're 65. They'll actually stop the coverage. The share plans vary from share plan to share plan, but there are also rules that are connected to Medicare that says when you're eligible, you have to sign up or there's a penalty if you don't have group coverage. So yes, in fact, if you have a share plan, you will want to at least explore the option of signing up if you ever plan to.
So when you say the word penalty, that should raise some ears.
Yes.
What are we talking about here?
There's a 10% penalty for every 12-month period that you didn't sign up that you will pay. So it can be a considerable amount of money.
So that accumulates?
That accumulates.
And
yes.
Is it like
it stays.
just on that? It's not on just the first year.
It stays.
That penalty will change your premium for life.
Correct. So
Ouch.
It is very important that you know what your options are.
And there are lots of options. Brad.
Yes.
Well, we know that. And we will get into those options. We're already talking about A and B and things like that. We'll get into the letters here in a little bit. So as far as time to sign up, how long does it take to sign up? What's this process
It really
look
doesn't
like?
take a long time. You can do it online. If you're computer savvy, you can go online and do the application online and sign up. You can call 1-800-MEDICARE to sign up. Most communities have a local Social Security office that you can go into, and you can talk to someone there and sign up. So there's several ways to do that.
Okay. And are there open enrollment windows? So we're used to, especially if somebody's on the exchange or used to some other forms of health insurance, there's an open enrollment time, and that's when we can make our choices. Do we run into that?
Not necessarily. When I'm turning 65, that's my initial enrollment period. So I need to do that within 3 months of my 65th birthday. So that's my specific enrollment period.
So we're talking 3 months prior to
Or after,
3 months
yeah.
prior to. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. When we're talking about 3 months prior is when you can start signing up.
Yes.
When do we need to start researching it? What's a good allowance that somebody would have?
I
This is
really-
a new area. We
yes.
don't know much about it. So
Right.
when do we need to start?
I really like to see people looking into it a year in advance, 12 months, because sometimes, there's a lot of choices that we're going to get into later, and you really need to do some homework. And it depends on your health conditions, what plan's going to be best for you, the prescriptions that you're taking. So there's a lot of different things that go into deciding what's best for me. And then if I am working, do I want to continue working and stay on the group plan? Because that's an option for me as well. What's my cost going to be? When you talk about budgets, it's
Not things that are going to be easily and quickly figured out,
exactly.
right? We need to
right. And you don't
research it, think
right.
about it, figure it out.
Nobody wants to surprise the
Yeah.
month that they're turning 65, what it's actually going to cost.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so we commonly hear about these letters. The common ones I hear are A, B, C, and D.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? Make
Sure.
sense of the alphabet here.
Yeah. Medicare Part A is hospitalization. It only covers you if you get put into the hospital. You have an annual deductible there of $1,364.
Does that change from year to year?
Yes, it does. The
Okay.
government regulates that, so that changes.
Okay.
And then you pay 20% of the bill after that. Part B covers you if you go to doctors, outpatient, therapy, blood work, anything really that's not hospitalization. And you have an annual deductible there of $185 and then 20% after that.
Okay.
Part C is something called Medicare Advantage. When you elect Medicare A and B to get the coverage, you have two roads that you can go down. One is Part C, which is Medicare Advantage. It's just a type of supplement, sort of, not really a supplement, but a type of coverage
We can get into
by
the details a
private
little later,
insurance.
but yeah.
And then Part D is for your prescription drug coverage.
Okay. So you talk about hospitalization, but then doctor as Part B.
Right.
One of the confusions for me has always been, is if I go to the hospital, does only A cover hospital-related expenses and not the doctor that's seeing me when I'm in the hospital?
Correct. That is
okay,
correct.
so I would
Yes.
need B then to cover
Yes,
my
correct.
doctor expenses.
Right. The doctor who comes in to see you, the blood work that they do, the tests that they're running, that's all under your Part
So
B.
A without B could leave you pretty exposed at a hospital.
Exactly.
Even. Okay.
Lots of choices that are confusing,
Yeah.
as you try to figure out how you're covered, because that's an issue.
Yes.
People want to make sure that they're safe. They're trusting the person who's helping them set this up. We were looking ahead at original Medicare, right, Brad?
Well, it's a term I hear all the time is they say, well, if you have original Medicare, then you can do this. And we can get into how that plays out later. But what is considered original Medicare? So you hear the term.
Right. Original Medicare is Part A and B with a Medicare supplement.
Okay.
When they talk about Medicare Advantage, that's not considered
Original.
And that's Part C.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We're glad you're the expert here, Marilyn.
That's right. I've got a
That's
list
what we
of
learned here
questions
today,
My
so, yeah.
goodness. And just in preparation for asking you questions, took a lot of research. So I can only imagine if I was making the decision. So what parts of Medicare are optional, if any? So as we look at A, B, C, and D, and you talk about supplements, do I have to sign up for specific things, or are some things going to be optional?
You have options. You actually have options. Part A, like you said, there's no cost to you, and it covers you if you're in the hospital. So it is an option whether I sign up, but really, why wouldn't
Doesn't
you?
make a whole lot of sense.
Because
Right?
it's free of charge.
Sure.
Part B, they are going to charge you for that. That's for the doctors and the testing. That's an option. Do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? But you'll, like you explained, you'll want some type of coverage if you're in the hospital for the doctors. Part C, it's optional because that's Medicare Advantage. And Part D is optional, but there's also a penalty if you don't sign up for Part D. So that's for the prescription coverage.
So if you don't choose Part D, you're going to pay something.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
These are all great details to know. So let's go back to, you mentioned Part A being free.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's free, other parts obviously cost. So
Right.
what's free? What cost? What should we expect here from a high level?
Part A is free if I've worked the 40 quarters. If I've not worked the 40 quarters, then there is a charge for me. Part B, there is a charge right now, and that is changing every year as well. The government regulates what that charge is. Right now, it's $135.50 per month for this year.
Okay. And that's the same for everybody.
It depends on your income.
Based on income,
Yeah.
right?
Based on
That's
income.
right. I saw that.
So if you're a married couple and your income from 2017, because we're in the year 2019, is above $170,000, now I will pay more than $135.50. So it's on a graded scale. So
Okay.
it could be as high as $430 a month, depending on what my income is. Once
Okay.
it goes over that $170,000.
And they're just looking back, it sounds like 2 years.
2 years,
Okay.
exactly. So
that will change from year to year.
Yes,
So if
so
somebody
yes.
first year of retirement may have had a good paying
Right.
income,
Right.
and now they're retired and living on nothing,
Right.
and
so
that premium will go down.
that premium can change from year to year because
Okay.
this year I paid more, like you said, and then next year when they look at my 2018s, now it goes down, and the next year I sold some farmland, and so now it goes back up again. So that's looked at each year.
Okay.
This is good to know. There's lots of variances here. And really, when you think about it, sometimes people come in and they don't even know where to start with the first question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many options, and it's good to just have this conversation, this open thinking of, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
But we'll be prepared by the time we get to 65, Brad.
It'll change.
It will probably
I won't know anything by that point. All right. So, is this a one-time choice? So as we're talking about the options that we have, do I have to make the choice once and stick with it, or can I make changes as time goes by?
Of course, it cannot be that easy to say yes or no to that.
I don't expect a yes or no all the time.
Because once I make that initial choice, what if I go back to work and I don't want that Part B anymore because I'm having to pay for that. I want to take that employer coverage.
Sure. Yeah.
I can go back then and say, no, I don't want the B. I want to take my employer coverage. And then when that employer coverage ends, I can go back to the B. So
Okay.
you can make changes once that initial change is made or choice is made. Yes.
All right. As we talk about this alphabet, we've only had A through D so far.
Right.
And I know there's a lot more letters.
Yes.
And that's where we get into what we call Medigap.
Yes.
Can you tell us what Medigap is?
Medigap is a Medicare supplement. All of those letters that are associated with that are just different plan designs. And those plan designs will help to pay those deductibles and the 20% that Medicare A and B does not pay.
So it's kind of a backup insurance of our insurance.
Exactly. And you are not required to have a Medigap or a Medicare supplement. That is a personal choice. The thing that I tell people is you need to be aware that that 20% that Medicare doesn't pay, if I have an expensive medical bill that's $200,000, I will be expected to pay 20% of that if I don't have a supplement of some sort.
So now that's an interesting point you bring up. So our typical insurance, we're used to having a copay, but an out-of-pocket max.
Right. And
No out-of-pocket max
there
with
is
Medicare?
no out-of-pocket max with Medicare. So you
That could
are
be a
paying
costly thing to know.
yes, you are paying the 20% on all bills.
Wow. And 20%, like you say, of
Yes.
200,000.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Could be very
Wow.
expensive.
Yeah, that number gets pretty
That's
big pretty
daunting
fast.
in the retirement years.
Yes, it is.
You're scaring me,
Yes.
and I'm not even on it.
I know.
So as we talk about Medigap, one of the other things I hear is going back to your Part C where you're talking about Medicare Advantage. So there's some similarity between those two, but obviously some differences.
Yes. Medicare Advantage was created because the powers that be said this whole Medicare thing is not working out. So we're paying people to process all the claims through Medicare. So let's hire private insurance carriers that will take on that task. So these private insurance carriers, all the claims will run through them, through the Medicare Advantage, and you are charged a copay for every service that you receive. If I see my physician, it may be $5 or $10 copay. If I have blood work done, I'm paying a percentage. If I'm in the hospital, it may be $260 a day. So I'm paying something. There is a maximum out of pocket on those plans. Typically, it ranges from about $5,000 to $7,000 a year, but there is a maximum out of pocket on there.
Okay. Wow. All right. So this is getting us into some details. So
Yes.
I suggest we take a break now.
Okay.
And then we'll jump back into the details so we can split these into two different videos.
And
Sound
there
good?
are lots of details to
Yes.
go over. Yeah.
Okay.
It gets a whole
Take
lot
notes.
hairier from here. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.